Welcome back to the show, everybody. We are super happy to be welcoming a returning guest, a fantastic singer who is celebrating the 20th anniversary of his second album, Carencro. He's going to be in Ponte Vedra at the Ponte Vedra Concert Hall Friday, January 26th, and Saturday, January 27th. Marc Broussard. Marc, how's it going, sir?
Man, I'm doing good. How you do, Ben?
I'm doing good, man. I am doing good, trying to get 2024 off right,
Man, this weather's not making it the easiest, I'll tell you that. It's nasty out, isn't it?
It like we were talking about before we started. It's not good southern weather.
No.
Two, it's fluctuating. I don't like the teases. I know a lot of people do. Yeah. They like the one day that it's like 70 and nice, but that just leaves me wanting more. I see it and I'm like, oh, it's gone.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Make up your mind, Mother Nature.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That almost sounded like you could have gone another way with that. Make up your mind, Mother Nature. Your beard is looking very strong these days, but it's looking well trimmed there.
Yes.
You have it trimmed recently?
Fact, I did. I trimmed it 2 nights ago. We were going to see a show, my wife and I. I was at the duck lease for about 4 days, and I came back home from the duck hunt looking pretty haggard. So it was time for a little trim.
Do you have? I don't have a timeline. There's no I just sort of go until I look in the mirror one day and I'm like, oh,
100%.
That's not good. Yeah, okay.
I do the exact same thing.
Yeah. Okay,
generally I never get complaints about the beard when it's short, but I do get complaints from certain fans, especially older gals. They're like, I wish you would trim that up. It's so much. So I try to keep it short when we're about to take off for the road again as well. This is short. This is a short beard. Make no mistake about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of those beards that's like right up against, that's just way too much work.
Yeah.
That's because then you're doing it like every single day, know? I mean, that's like with my hair. People always think I'm trying to make some kind of, some kind of commentary, some kind of style choice. I'm like, no, it's just lazy, to be honest. It's a lot easier. I just put it up every single day and forget about it. Like that's
with my hair recently. I was kind of in a hotel room. We were on tour on the West Coast, and my keyboard player came to the room to get the trailer keys from me because he left something in the van or whatever. And I decided as a practical joke that I would give him the keys and then shave my head and hopefully get it done by the time he got back to the room to just, play a joke on him. And I only got about halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way. I was looking pretty wild that night, but yeah, I haven't sat in a barber's chair more than about a half dozen times in the last 12 years, 10 years, something like that. I get the trimmers out. I put a 1 or 2 guard on there, and I trim it up.
Yeah, it's easily maintainable yourself. That's for sure. If I didn't just let it grow out for literally the last time I let it grow out for like 4 years before I cut it. If I didn't do that, I would just basically shave it every single day. It's just like, But how were the holidays? Everything good on the holidays?
Oh, yeah, man. We had a couple of really good shows down here that we do every year down here in Louisiana right around Christmas time, culminating with the eve of Christmas Eve down in New Orleans. It's a big old party. About 1,000 people show up to this spot right on the edge of the town, and we have an absolute ball. And then, of course, spending time with family on Christmas is something that I've enjoyed a lot. I usually work on New Year's Eve as well, and this year I didn't. I didn't work on New Year's Eve this year, which is a real nice treat. We just went and hung out with some friends and popped some fireworks. I think I was in bed before midnight, though.
That's the best way to do it. That's what I do. That's With the family, from what I can tell, I was going through your social media. I got to say, it seems like your daughter Ella, she likes to deal in shenanigans. Is that
She's
fair to say?
she's the best. All right. She's my favorite story to tell about Ella is right after COVID lockdowns, when the money was getting a little tight and things were starting to get a little concerning.
Mm-hmm.
We got a license in from a bank in New Zealand. They licensed a song of mine, and it was a nice payday. It was gonna get us through a couple of months at least.
Yeah.
And I got off the phone with my manager, come to the kitchen to tell my wife about this deal that we just got, and my daughter was within earshot. She was mopping up the dining room.
Mm-hmm.
And when I told my wife the figure, my daughter drops the broom. She says, "You take that deal. You hear that kind of money, you take that deal. But don't let them think you're too eager. Tell them you think about it first." She was 9 years old when that happened, man. She's come out to sell merch with us. On occasion she'll come out on the road and come help mom sell merch. And
Nice.
and I've heard like fans walk up to the table and say, "Can you tell me about the shirt?" And she does. It's 60-40, 60% polyester, 40% cotton. She's a doll, man. She's our favorite by far. Shh, don't tell anyone.
Don't worry. I don't think your other kids listen to the show. I think it's okay. It's all right.
They know.
Does she actually? Does she play like practical jokes on you guys, or no? Is she not that type of shenanigan dealer?
She's been known to pull a prank or two on occasion, making some fake dog poop and picking it up and eating it in front of us, and that kind of stuff. She's the best, man. I love this little girl.
Nice. Well, last time you were on the show, I asked you where I should eat in Lafayette, and you gave me Pop's Po' Boys, and I followed them on Instagram, and I got to tell you, man, some of those sandwiches that they have. Woo!
Colin Cormier is one of the finest chefs that this place has ever produced, in my opinion. And the fact that he isn't doing fine dining and chose instead to do sandwiches every day is, I think, a dream come true, to be honest. There's some other great spots in town. Pops is the go-to for me on lunch. For dinner, there's a new spot in town, actually, right up the road from Pops, called Vestal. Vestal's got this raw menu that's to die for. It's got some caviar. It's got some raw oysters from imported from New Brunswick and all over the place. He's got tuna crudo and a beef tartare that I absolutely love. And then the wife and I usually like split a steak, and the steaks are some of the best I've ever had. So, did I tell you about the French press though?
For breakfast, right?
Yes, the French press for breakfast is still to this day, in my opinion, the best dish on planet Earth. One of them, at least.
It sounds dangerous in Lafayette, man. Dangerous as far as just I would eat way too much.
You do have to discipline yourself. In fact, my brother-in-law, my wife's brother, just opened up a specialty meat store. That's kind of a famous. They bought into this kind of famous staple institution of a meat store, and they opened up a second location right in my hometown here in Carencro. I mean, the other spot was only about 10 minutes, 15 minutes drive, but this is like 3 minutes, and it's my brother-in-law, and I want to help him out.
Got to support the family.
I got to support the family. So there's this stuff called boudin that's really a delicacy down here. It's like a pork rice dressing stuffed in a sausage casing.
Yeah.
And then we got hog cracklings and chicken cracklings, and I'm trying my best to discipline myself. It's hard, but I get to I get to go away. So,
have you ever had the Dirty Bird from Pop's Po' Boys?
I've never had the Dirty Bird. No, that's probably just a fried chicken po' boy.
Yeah, it's a fried chicken with gravy on it, and and cheddar cheese, and it's just. I don't know what like the cycle is, but every now and then I'll go on Instagram. I'll see that one. I'm just like, I might drive 400 miles just to have that thing. I might do it.
Well, he actually started. So he actually started the Po' Boy Festival here in Lafayette as well. So if you really are into sandwiches, man, that's the time of year to come.
When
Come
is
down
that?
I don't even know actually.
Gonna
It's
have to look it up. I'm gonna have to.
yeah, I think it's
I'm
in the
I'm gonna
fall,
make
but
a.
I can't tell you.
I'm gonna make a fake. I'm gonna tell the radio station we have to do a live
Let's do a
show
live.
from the. Yeah, we got
I'll
it.
co-host.
Oh yes, yes, you heard it. You heard it, listeners. We're holding him to it. Fantastic. Well, now that we've got our food topics out of the way, 2023 was a good year for you as far as music and touring. You had the release of the 4th installment of the SOS series. This time, Blues for Your Soul. So
That's right.
The 3rd was a lullaby collection.
Yeah.
And you switched it more to blues. What made you end up on blues for this one?
Man, honestly, it was about the the Lullaby album was for those of you who don't know, we started doing these charitable projects called the SOS albums.
Mm-hmm.
SOS stands for My Foundation, Save Our Soul.
Mm-hmm.
And we started doing these charity projects where we pick a particular charity to match up with these albums. So the Lullaby album was used to raise funds for a new children's hospital that got opened up here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I set my sights on something that is very near and dear to my heart, because my family hasn't been affected dramatically by incarceration, but I've got tons of friends that have absolutely been affected by incarceration.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to do something to raise money for folks that are out here trying to keep kids out of the prison systems and keep kids occupied with productive things on their mind and their hands.
Nice.
And I thought that the blues was a nice match for that project. So I reached out to a buddy of mine who's kind of a close confidant. He's a production partner of mine as well in the past. He actually produced the first SOS album, and maybe the second album as well. Yeah, he produced the second as well, Calvin Turner. And was just looking for some advice and some help. And he said, man, I've been doing these string and horn arrangements for Joe Bonamassa these last few years. He's producing a bunch of these records for a bunch of different people that are, blues artists. I think you should call him and see if they'll work with you on it. I said, well, look, you grease the wheels from that end. I'll reach out from my end and we'll see if we can't meet in the middle. And sure enough, Joe and his team jumped on the project immediately. They helped me put a playlist together. Typically, these albums are selected by committee. I have everybody submit playlists, and then I kind of go through the playlist, cross-reference lists. If there's anything that's duplicated, those usually get an automatic green light. And then we kind of vote by committee to flesh out the rest of the playlist. But this one really came from Joe's team. They put together a list, and I kind of went through and selected the things that I thought were great, submitted it back, and they were all very, very happy about it. So we made a schedule to get into the studio with Joe's band at Sunset Sound in Hollywood, California. Mm-hmm. And man, it was going so fast that we actually purposely slowed down. We wanted to maximize our time that we had already blocked out in the studio and we're going to be paying for. But we could have knocked this thing out in 2 days. It was flying. Nice. Yeah, we were flying in the studio. So I really owe Joe and his whole squad a massive debt of gratitude for helping me get this project together.
For sure. Well, I noticed, you mentioned as far as like Joe went a little bit more deep cuts on the songs. It wasn't as you look at your other SOS projects. I mean, and there's always like you have pretty much on most of them this big name cover that everybody is gonna know.
Sure.
And on this one, you got a lot of ones that I feel like it's almost easier for you to make your own because they are that deeper cut that people don't have an association with, at least, not blues fans, I should say. Maybe you're fans that haven't been super inundated with the blues.
Well, the blues as a genre, especially in the modern era, is really defined by players. So there's not a whole lot of modern stand-up blues singers, and that's all they do. Joe slangs, he plays the crap out of the guitar. Everybody else in the genre is really a guitar slinger more than a vocalist. And I'm not a slinger, I'm a singer. So we had to go deeper into the vaults and find those cuts that I would showcase my voice in the best possible light, as well as be somewhat recognizable, or at least authentically blues tunes, and then we stretched a little bit, like with BB's I Like to Live the Love. That's it's kind of more of a soul song than most of BB's catalog, right? But because it's BB, we could take that liberty. The most fun that I had was singing Bobby Blue Bland, though. Bobby's been a huge influence on me for my entire life. And to be able to cut those songs and get a little bit of validation. His son, actually, and former drummer, he reached out once the record came out, and gave me a lot of love about those covers that we did. So
that's awesome,
man. Yeah, it was a blast to make this album.
How was now we've had Joe on the show before, and he's a character. How was he? How was he working as producer there?
He's such a humble cat. He doesn't really assert any kind of authority in any way. He knows that he surrounds himself with the best people, and he kind of lets everybody do their thing. And it's just about making sure that those key players are in the right spot. So we've got a great engineer, and the guy knows exactly how and when to turn those switches, and he was a joy to work with. He never hesitated to get up out of the chair. I brought my own guitar player, called my buddy Eric Krasno to come in and guest as well. And, bringing a guitar player to a Joe Bonamassa session is kind of like bringing sand to the beach.
It's a little intimidating. Yeah.
Yeah. And in some respects fairly useless, because you're asking the best player in the bunch to get up out of the chair. But nonetheless, he never hesitated to get up out of the chair. And let somebody else have the spotlight. It was a joy. It was a real joy to work with him and get closer as friends.
He played on 4 tracks as far as guitar, right? I think that was 4 on the album.
I couldn't say off the top of my head, but that sounds low.
Yeah,
he may just not be credited.
Well, like I wonder, because I don't know how many guitars Joe has. 17,000. Does he bring like 400 guitars, or did he just bring like one guitar?
No, he probably had about 5 or 7 guitars, if I had to guess. I remember one day he ran out and bought a guitar. He saw some deal at the store and ran down there and grabbed the guitar and came right back and put it on the track.
You were like, is that, I don't mean to question the producer, but is that really necessary? You couldn't, one of the other 18,000 that you already got?
He wanted that guitar for whatever reason. He wanted it. It was a good deal. He's a savvy guitar buyer.
He is a collector, man. He is a collector. It is insane. So like just going through his Instagram and him posting those guitars, I'm just like, what? How much did that cost? That had to be an insane cost, like just nuts.
Well, I don't think you amass a collection like that by necessarily just paying top dollar at all stages. No. I think he's the kind of guy that really, really works hard to find those gems that some grandmother found under a bed somewhere that's been sitting in a case. And give him fair compensation. But I don't think he's out there just writing blank checks to everybody. I think he's a very, very savvy buyer of guitars for sure.
It's impressive. When we had Joe on, he actually he was talking about when you guys recorded, and he had a picture of this when you were recording the album. Keanu Reeves strolls in one day.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's the first time Keanu's ever came into one of your recording sessions.
Yeah, that was my first time for sure, and I think everybody else's as well. He was touring the facility. He was taking a look at the studios there at Sunset to I think book for his own band.
Yeah,
and we were kind of on a break already. They were standing outside in like the courtyard, and it looked like they didn't want to come and interrupt us. And I said, hey man, feel free. We're not tracking. We're on a break right now. Go ahead. Check out the tracking room.
Yeah.
And Joe says, Krasno was there and Joe was there and all of us being there. Joe says, we cannot miss this opportunity for a photograph. We got to get a photo. So I kind of, sheepishly went into the track room and said, hey, buddy. And he thought we were coming back in to go back to work. I was like, actually, nah, we were just hoping we could get a pic. And
I'm sure he was nice about it, wasn't he?
He was extremely nice about it. It was fairly awkward, though. The whole thing was a bit awkward,
I feel like I would have had to like quote Bill and Ted at some point in time, or John Wick or something. I'd have to give him some kind of quote, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I've heard it 1,000 times. I know, I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry."
No, it was extremely brief, but very, very cool.
Well, you just a couple months ago, you had a string of shows there in Europe.
Yep.
And I saw all the theaters. So many cool theaters on that run. I mean, like just the architecture and the history of them, and they were packed too. I mean, you had some videos there of you guys, like you singing a cappella, I know, at one place, and it's just such a cool room. I mean, just the concert hall that it looks like. I'm guessing all the shows went pretty well there.
Yeah, the European audience has embraced me in many respects more robustly than any single market in the U.S. for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We sell more tickets there than we do here, per show. Generally, it's kind of a surreal experience to go over there and walk into a room and sell 2,000 or 3,000 tickets. When I've never even sniffed that here in the U.S.
Yeah.
I've been going over there for, I think, something like 17 years or so. And we've just grown it and grown it and grown it and grown it and really tried to be as consistent as we can and going back every year in and year out. And it's paid off. It's paid some huge dividends for us for sure. So now we go over and we crush. It's a ball.
I've heard from a lot of artists that do a lot of European tours that it's sort of like you have their undivided attention. It's a little bit different from America in the fact that like they come to that concert and it's like zero in until you're finished, and then then they'll give the applause. But like while it's going on, they're on you.
It's similar to here, though. A Saturday night is different than a Tuesday night. That when we're playing on Saturday night, everybody's real amped up and having a good time. But they are extremely respectful folks. And when it comes to audiences, they're extremely, extremely respectful. And it's nice. It can get slightly awkward at times because sometimes I want to pull a little more from a crowd, especially if I'm feeling Friday night. And I want to get y'all up and dancing. So sometimes it can be a little subdued as well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say one is better than the other. You just, for sure. You got a Tuesday night that's going to feel very, very different from that Saturday night in the same week in a different town. So as a musician, I try to adjust to the crowd. I try to make sure that we can make some moves, call some audibles. My set list has never really been a very hard and fast set list. It's always more been more of a song list. So my guys know to stay on their toes.
Nice. Well, speaking of international shows, I was taking a look at your Spotify page, and I noticed that Australia and New Zealand are 4 out of the top 5 listening spots to your music.
Yeah.
And now, have you ever gone on tour there?
I've never been. No, we were in talks with a guy about going over last year. Yeah. And those talks disappeared. So, yeah, I've yet to go. And I'm very, very excited about going. My wife has been dying. She's been begging me for our entire marriage to take her down there. She's been fascinated since she was a little girl. So I usually like to try and get vacations paid for if I can help it. like that
Makes
stuff.
sense.
Yeah, book a few shows, hang out for a little bit,
Yeah, a little 50-50.
Yeah.
I like it. Was that part of when you were talking about that licensing deal? I mean, did you see bumps from things like that, or is it just sort of all organic down under
I,
as far as them liking you?
I have no idea why we have fans anywhere. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you about Cleveland, much less Sydney.
Yeah, it's. Oh, I was thinking about it. Have you ever listened to? Have you ever heard of the band, the Teskey Brothers?
Of course.
Yeah, those guys. I mean, they vibe with your sound a lot. I feel
The
like
Teskies,
those.
the Teskies do 2 nights in a stadium in Amsterdam.
Those
I think it holds like 60,000 people.
they kill, man. They kill. And
They don't do that in Australia, I don't think. What's wilder is that the Teskies played right before me in North Sea Jazz Fest in Rotterdam,
Mm-hmm.
probably about 8 years ago, something like that. Maybe not even that long ago, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And there might have been 200 people in the tent. And it was like when they started, there was several thousand people in that tent. And by the end of their set, there might have been 200 people in that tent. Fast forward a few years, and they're selling 60,000 tickets 2 nights in a row. That's a rise to stardom that's kind of unrivaled in my experience. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, I mean, they've got some talent too. It is wild,
great.
but
Yeah,
but
that kid sings his butt off.
and I love that, they are sort of fascinated with always doing it old school as far as recording. Like, I mean, they recorded it all analog. They bought all of the analog equipment themselves. Like, it's impressive. But I mean, you go down there and make it happen. A Teskey Marc Broussard ticket. Come on. That's
we actually talked to them already about it. We're in talks about putting together a tour together.
There it is
in Europe. So we'll see if we can pull it off. I really hope we can, because I really like that band.
Yeah, man. They have some killer tunes. I love them. But yeah, I mean, you got to go down and see their folks in Australia, because apparently Australia loves you, and New Zealand. And I would probably stick more to New Zealand. Because I mean, New Zealand. No offense to Australia, but they don't have nearly as many deadly animals. I mean, when you never see anything about New Zealand with like crocodiles and jellyfish and spiders and snakes. And I got to be honest, all of those things freak me out. So
yeah, but those Maori folks aren't to be messed with either, man. There's some dangerous folks. If you transgress somebody the wrong way, you might have to get dealt with by.
But at least I can talk to them. I can't talk to a saltwater crocodile. Like that's. I just and like I don't know. Have you ever seen those huntsman spiders in Australia? Oh God! I mean, like they're not poisonous. And every Australian I talk to, they're like, they're harmless. And I'm like, but they're giant and they freak me out. Like this is And I'm sure they hurt. They might not be poisonous.
They have a clock spider too that's massive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a bunch of but. It'd still be a bucket list time to check it off as far as going down there. Well, let's talk about the main event of this upcoming tour here. Carencro, 20 years.
Sure.
Which is hard to believe. I mean, this is one of the seminal albums for you. How did, in general, how did this album change your life? What was,
I mean, I wouldn't have a career with that album, without that album. I doubt very seriously that without Home, that I would have a career in this business. It was certainly a launch pad, but has been by far my most popular album to date. Still to this day, the fans know more of that album than any of the other albums. It's, I can't even begin to process that it's been 20 years and what's happened in those 20 years. I'm still friends with everybody involved in the making of that album, from the label on down. The producer of that album, Marshall Altman, and I are still very, very close. Calvin Turner, the bass player, Chad Gilmore, the drummer, are two of my best friends in the world. And those guys have been foundational in helping me become the man that I am. So in every respect, I owe much of my existence and my success to that one moment, that one album.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, when you look at your life, like you said, like, I mean, when you started that album, you had a kid coming, and now you've got four, and they're mostly grown up. I mean, they're all, they're all double digits now. That's wild.
Yeah, no, the kid that was born, I think he was born 7 days after the release of that album, is he just made 21 years old. So actually he was born before that album, but we were in the process of making it, I think. But all in all, man, I learned some hard lessons. I learned about how to negotiate with a record label, how to pick and choose battles. Some of them I picked wrongly. Some I think I handled myself well. And like I said, I wouldn't have a career. That album got me on tour with Maroon 5, which exposed me to a fan base that has been with me for the last 20 years. They still come out. I still see them every time we come to their cities. And, those folks have put food on my table and a roof over my head and helped me put my kids through school, and have really afforded me a very blessed life. So I'm extremely grateful for that album.
Have you thought about recreating the album cover for the tour?
I
See
did.
if anybody notices.
I did recreate it. We did a little promo shoot not too long ago. I think it's on my Instagram somewhere.
Oh man, I got to go find it then. I didn't see that. I got to say I feel like there's a little bit of change in the last 20 years.
Yeah, I mean it's like a mile and a half that way is where we shot that thing.
You got I mean the beard has definitely grown since then.
Definitely.
Could you grow a full beard then?
Oh, I could grow this when I was in the 7th grade.
Oh, you were one of those dudes.
Oh yeah.
Okay. See, I couldn't, like, that was the thing. I couldn't grow a full beard until I was like 25.
That's
so, like,
strange to me.
Yeah. I couldn't, like, it took a while. Like back when I was, like, you were what, 22 when that album came out, right?
No, I was 20.
20.
I believe so. Yeah. I think I was 20.
Oh yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. My timeline gets all screwed up. You're right. It was 2004. I was 22. You're right.
Yeah. So like that, I would have had just like there would have been like a little hair here, and that would have been it. Like
And
basically,
like the rest of it would be patchy.
oh, it would have been patchy. It would have been horrible. Like that was the thing.
I wonder how that changed. That's amazing to me.
Just strong will. I told my face, you need to grow. You need to get out there. Because, I mean, honestly, it's just, some people are late growers on beards. Sometimes it takes a while to sprout. But
I don't think I've ever heard of a late blooming beard. I don't think I've ever heard of it.
Trust me, they're out there. We are out there.
You're a testament, yeah. Sure.
There it is. Well, so you're going through the whole album, each show.
Yeah.
So you're doing all the songs. I
don't think we're doing them in order. And most of the arrangements are going to be pretty spot on to the record. Mm-hmm. We will take some liberties in certain spots just to be a little more creative and put a nice show together. But I haven't played some of this stuff in over a decade.
I was about to say, where there's some that you had to brush off and go, oh yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. Where You Are is a song that I refused to play. I didn't like it when I first put it on this album. And I was forced to put it on the album by the record label. And my producer, Marshall Altman, promised me that he would sabotage it in the mix process. He ended up putting out a mix that the label absolutely loved and wanted to use as a first single. That's what I'm talking about picking and choosing those battles.
Yeah.
I was head to head on a regular basis with my label about which song should be the first single. I thought Home should be the first single. They thought Where You Are should be the first single.
Oh, look who was right. Huh.
Well, I didn't help by not. So they would send radio promo guys out to take these program directors out to dinner and wine and dine them. And, my radio guy is saying, oh, man, I can't wait for you to hear this song. You're going to love this guy. He sings the crap out of this song. And then they'd bring him to the show, and I wouldn't play the song. So it kind of killed the momentum any momentum that they were trying to get for that song. In fact, I was supposed to do it on national TV one time. We were playing in New York City, and we were going to do Home and then Where You Are. And the anchor gets back from commercial break, and she says, and once again, here's Marc Broussard with Where You Are. And as she's saying that, I turned to the band and say, play Rock Steady. And the guy said, you serious? I said, Rock Steady. And we played Rock Steady. It was that was a brutal day for my managers at the time. My label president called him up and really had a major problem with that one.
It blows me away. I know it doesn't happen as much as it used to, like back then. I mean, it still obviously happens. There's still plenty of examples of it, but it blows me away how little record companies trust the artists. And I don't know how many times I've heard artists say that, like, oh, I thought this song was awesome. And then that becomes the song that everybody loves. And that's the song that everybody at the record label is going, no, that doesn't work. No, it's not. And you're like, how? Why do you think this is going to be the song? It just blows me away. I don't get it.
I think so. I think that they ultimately realized that Home was going to be a single. They just didn't want it as the first single. I didn't want Where You Are on the album. And I also didn't like the fact that they were exerting so much authority over my career and are assuming that they could exert any authority over my career just because they handed me a check. Yeah. Ultimately, I'm still the guy that's going to get up there on stage and perform these tunes. And that's what I realized once they started bringing these radio folks out to the shows and I wouldn't play the songs. I just figured they would give up and they would go with Home at some point, that they would give up on this mission of Where You Are. Yeah. They never did. They really, like, it wasn't until the 11th hour until they had spent tons of money pushing this song that they knew I wasn't going to play. And finally they were like, okay, I guess we're going with Home and Hot AC, and, made a lackluster push. But ultimately I realized that I had a lot of authority and that no matter what, at the end of the day, if I didn't want to play a song, I wasn't going to play a song.
Yeah. It feels like now there would be a good amount of like analytics at these record companies that they would be able to understand, like, hey, you know what? We have told this many artists to play this song as their single, and we've only been successful this many times. Maybe we shouldn't do that anymore. Maybe we should just...
There's no analytics going on at these record labels, man. It's flying blind. I asked the guy a buddy of mine who works for Live Nation. One time I said, what's the secret? He says, we have no idea. We have no idea why some bands sell more than others and why one band sells stadiums this go around and can't sell a theater the next go around. He said, it's all a crapshoot, man. We don't know anything. And I don't think the labels are much different than Live Nation is. No, I really don't think they care very much, to be honest.
Well, I mean that's why, like you said, that's why it's so irksome that they have so much control over so many artists that you're just like, you don't know, and you didn't do anything for this. You didn't contribute anything to this.
Hunter S. Thompson has the best quote about the music business. He says, the music business is a long plastic hallway where pimps and thieves run free and good men die like dogs. There's also a bad side. I think that's the best quote about the business ever.
That, there's a lot of them. I might just because of its artistic value, I might put Hotel California up there at the top of my list, since that's supposedly what it's about, is about the music industry. So it's an
apt description for sure.
Yeah, it ruined a lot of good careers. But have you come to terms with that song now? Are you happy to play it now?
now I'm super jazzed to play it, especially once we get back up north, because I got some of my old record executive buddies that help make that album happen. They're all coming out to the show. So I'm gonna sing my heart out on that song.
Guys, this is a special song for everybody. I want everybody to stop and listen to this song. Well, I couldn't help but notice last year was the first year you weren't touring for a long time during Mardi Gras. You got the first time. You seemed to really enjoy it, and I noticed this year you've got a break.
I do have a big break for Mardi Gras this year, man. You know,
was that a coincidence or was that part of the plan?
It's definitely part of the plan. I miss too many friggin' Mardi Gras, and I'm part of a crew down here in Carencro with a bunch of friends from high school, and I miss the ball every year. I miss the freaking ball every single year, so I decided to try to put it into it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So you go. Are you? Do you? Because I know last year it was sort of a last second choice as far as your wardrobe. Do you have a plan this year?
I do. We've picked up several options for this year's Mardi Gras festivities, and you'll definitely be seeing them on social media.
Love it. I love it. Well, before we go, Mark, do you have, what else can you tell the listeners that you have in store for 2024?
I got more music coming in 2024, God willing,
Nice.
than any other year of my career. So I'm currently wrapping up a project that produced by my buddy Eric Krasno. My lights are all dying over here. Sorry, brother.
No worries.
I'm wrapping up an album with Kraz. That should be wrapped up and finished completely in February. Then the plan is to go back in with Joe and his team and make an original blues album. Hopefully get that out by the end of the year as well. And we got another SOS in the works as well. I haven't decided on Yacht Rock yet, or maybe going back to the Soul Trough.
My vote is for Yacht Rock. That is.
Well, I'm also considering doing like a classic country, some Conway Twitty and Keith Whitley kind of stuff. So there's a lot to discuss still yet for SOS, but I'm hoping to get this blues album and the Krasno album out this year.
I'm still putting my vote in for Yacht Rock. I mean, I like the classic country, but yeah, I mean, Yacht Rock's got so much. It's got soul in it, but it's also just so fun.
I agree. I just think thematically might be a little bit played. It feels like it would have been more suited for about 4 years ago.
I might be biased, but it's good for me anytime. I don't care what time of year. I don't care what the trends are. Put it on, man. I'm gonna love it.
You got me too, man. I'm in.
Yes. Let's do it.
Could see I was wrong, and I just can't live without you. I'm in.
Yes. Yeah, my favorite, I've mentioned this. We actually had the band Yacht Rock Review on the show last year.
Nice.
And we're going through all the classics that they have to play every night because everybody wants to hear them. And I told them, like, my favorite, bar none, Brandy, Looking Glass.
Brandy.
Yeah, man, that song is just so 70s.
It's pretty
so
70s.
Yacht rock. It's just, and I mean, is of course one of those just diamond in the rough, just one hit wonder that they just hit with that song and then faded off and just.
Brandy, you're a good one. What a hilarious sounding voice to me.
It's then that's the thing is, to me, for some reason, it's just so 70s. I'm like, yes.
I like 10cc personally. I like the diversity of 10cc's albums.
Yeah,
they got everything on those albums.
They do. They go back and forth, man. But yeah, there's so many good choices in Yacht Rock. But sure. with the Joe Bonamassa album, is this going to be like a full collaboration? Like, are you guys going to be writing songs together, or is it
Yeah, we've already started that. We've already started that process.
Wow.
So we're writing at a distance. I've got some other friends that I'm trying to write some stuff with as well. But you know, writing an original blues record is quite an undertaking for me. I want it to be as authentic as possible. You know, I want to be able to make that genre proud, and hopefully move a little bit more into that space as well. So I'm trying to take my time and be as thoughtful as I can.
Like you said, you got a person that can fire the guitar up that's working with you there. He can serve those riffs, that's for sure. That's
no
for
doubt
sure
about it, brother.
But Mark, we are up against the break, man. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us again today.
You got it, man. Thanks for having me, brother. We'll see y'all down in Point Vedra. When is that? Like
27th, 28th.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
In
Beautiful.
just a couple of weeks. Just a couple of weeks. Listeners, make sure you get out to the concerts for sure. He's got a double feature. You can get tickets for both. Be one of those people. Be a selfish person. Go see him twice. Check out all things Marc Broussard at his website, marcbroussard.com. Check him out on social media. Of course, stream all of his music. Right now, we are going to hear one of those songs with Joe Bonamassa. This is That's What Love Will Make You Do right here on The Doc G Show.